That's right. So, what made
Yeah.
you get into the field, the social work field?
Uh, that's a question a lot of people ask.
Mm-hmm.
And social work, anyone that's going through social work or
Mm-hmm.
going to school for it will tell you one thing, and it's amazing how it's just connected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's a calling.
Mm-hmm.
It is a calling, period. You're not going to get rich from social work, to be honest. I have family members still ask me, why do you choose to do this? And I'm like, it's a calling. It takes a special person sometimes.
And you have
for
to
this.
have
That's how I
empathy,
see it.
empathy
You do
to
have a
work.
lot of empathy and patience,
Yes.
and a lot of patience.
Yes.
And I guess before I was already finding myself already doing it
Mm-hmm.
on a natural basis because people tell me, I guess it's just your personality, and it could be.
Yes.
But I was already doing it on a day-to-day basis. I'm the baby in my family, but I see my siblings or older people all reaching out to me to
Mm-hmm.
talk to. And it's
Right.
like, hey, look at me. I'm young, but they still looking up to me to talk to them, to relieve a lot of stress,
Yeah.
to get some input or advice and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not seeing it as a big deal. But, well, I wasn't seeing it as a big thing, but they were. And
Right.
come to find out, I switched my agents like 3 different times, to be honest. And then come to find out this was my passion.
Yeah.
It has to be a passion because
Yeah.
if it's not, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
And I love what I do, and I'm going to keep doing what I do. And the ultimate thing, like Dr. was saying, is to actually put this out there in our community, especially with the counseling or therapy,
Right.
because our community needs this.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm
It
really
takes a
proud of.
village. It doesn't take one person.
I'm proud of what you're doing and keep doing it. And you're doing it for the people, and people really appreciate it. I have a question here from Efo Drame. She said, "What are the best way to identify depression or anxiety?"
To me, anxiety and depression come hand in hand
Mm-hmm.
because most of their symptoms are the same. It's just different terms from different ones.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, some of the symptoms for anxiety
Mm-hmm.
are less intense, I would say, before it really gets to the depression stage.
Mm-hmm.
But anxiety would really start off with restlessness, come the I feel sauna or fatigue, and you have excessive worriness. And you worry about little things.
Mm-hmm.
Like what if person. I know it's good to be a what if person,
Mm-hmm.
but then I talk to halato. Can't do what if? Not leading the help.
Shut down your brain. Mm-hmm.
Right. Or it could also be, you can have muscle tension and you don't understand what's going on. So you can get up the japa. And it could be, sometimes it could be good stress.
Right.
We all have good stress and bad stress.
Mm-hmm.
Good stress could be, it could be planning a wedding or a naming ceremony or something or a graduation.
Right.
You're still under stress. That's good level of stress, because you want things to fall in place. But when you come to the bad stress, it comes with different things that are going on, and you start having excessive worry, lack of energy, like you don't have interest in the things you used to enjoy anymore. Those are signs of depression coming in. Let's say you used to going out to take a walk or being outside a lot, and all of a sudden you see yourself isolating yourself and keeping yourself in your room.
Right.
You start feeling guilty about things, and sleepless nights, nightmares about things, starting to think about hurting yourself. Those are depression kicking in. And until only you can tell yourself that you're going through it. It's really hard. You can talk to a therapist all day, but until you open up and accept it, it's really going to be hard.
Okay. I have another question here. What do you think, why is it so hard for us to talk about depression in our community? What's your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, I think some of it is part of generational changes because, just to share a little personal information, even when I've read some of these things with my mom, for example, she was just telling me she didn't even understand what the differences were, and it was like, oh, Lolo. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then I started breaking it down for her with the signs and symptoms, the ugly, more they tell. Then it finally made sense to her. Like, oh, okay, this is what you're talking about. So I think part of it is about the generational changes, because maybe back then parents or grandparents and all they didn't know what it was. They didn't even know how to identify it. That's why they couldn't talk about it. If you can't identify it, you can't talk about it. But as time goes on, we are learning about things, and now we're identifying things. Like, this is what this is. Like how cancer is spreaded with the whole pap smear thing you were talking about. I'm sure way back then, people did follow up on that. But they couldn't really talk about it. Exactly. But now, you have this routine screens. You have the mammogram to do, so people are being more aware. There's education, so we're talking about it more. Like, there are certain things that are taboos. Oh, this is not something we talk about it. We don't talk about it, which is sad.
Yeah.
But I think there has been a lot of silence being broken. We're breaking the silence.
Yeah, we should really talk about depression and anxiety in our community, because even here in the United States, there are a lot of women here that go through depression and anxiety, but they don't like to talk about it because they're afraid what people would say. But here, like they say, when you go to the hospital, they have privacy. They're not going to discuss anything with your husband unless you sign a consent. But most of them are scared to talk about it.
And I think some part of it, the reason why people are scared too is afraid to be labeled. That's been seen, especially working in that community. Mental health, a lot of us don't want to be labeled. I get it. I don't want to be labeled either, But sometimes it's about getting the help that you, and it's more about the acceptance. Until you accept it, if you're in denial, you cannot get the help. Sometimes I see my clients who come in, and it's like 5, 6, 7 sessions later until we finally piece, okay, then we're making progress, then we can move to the next stage.
Okay.
Because if until you're there where you that much is not going to change. Change something for a change to happen.
That's right. So do you do home visits over here?
I used to this, which was more actually reaching out to the people in their homes in the comfort zone, because you tend to realize some people open up more with an environment they're familiar with, they're comfortable with. And this was a bit more with children before, because frankly, depression and anxiety does not only affect adults. I have to mention this. Children are being depressed.
Yes.
Children do have anxiety, and it's sometimes it's even worse that adults are going through.
Like
when it's intensive, that's when you really go out to the homes, because you want them to be comfortable where they are first, instead of coming to you.
So have you, when you went to Gambia, I don't know how recent was that, but have you tried to visit any clinic or try to talk to someone about your field, you being a social work, or finding out that if they have any clinic there that does this type of job that you do? Or
I haven't visited actually in a little bit. It's almost going on 4 years. It's not long, but it's about 4 to 5 years now. So during my last visit, I was still in grad school. And I didn't have my license at that time or anything, so I was not practicing. I was only doing internships here and there. So it was a different experience.
They say your line was breaking, Ajibin. I think your line was kind of...
sorry.
Is it better now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, let me send a message. I think they will reply. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Yeah, I can hear you better.
Okay. No, I said the last time I visited was about 4 years ago. About 5 years now, sorry. And at that time, I was still in grad school, so I wasn't really practicing or had my license or anything. So I couldn't really, and I didn't have much experience like I do now. But at that time, it was like I was still doing my research and what's available and what's not. How are people getting access to some things? Because accessibility is a big thing. If you don't have access to it,
Right.
you can't get the help that you need.
Mhm.
You know, like trying to get if you don't have a way to get there, you can't get what you need.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a big thing compared to now. But I still have connections or reaching out back there, and what we do is just pretty much visiting the clinics.
Okay.
A little different from what you're doing right now, which you are doing a phenomenal job, and keep the head up. We are going to do this together. It's going to be great. You know, yes, you are doing so awesome, and we're really proud of what you're doing right now.
Thank you.
But something different I do is just reach out to actually those who cannot really afford their medication,
Right.
or just have a baby, something like that. But we really don't like to identify ourselves. We just randomly do it and just say, okay, this is just to help them. I don't even want to be known or recognized. We just want for the sake of that we're doing it. Exactly, just for the support.
Okay.
You see the lack things that are lacking in the clinics.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things lacking in the clinics.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us your strengths and weaknesses as a social worker?
Well, strengths would, or should I say my weakness? Well, okay, no. But my strength as a social worker is just being able to multitask or tap into different things, because social work is very broad. Right. That's what I tell people. You can get into different things in social work. You have school social workers, you have medical social workers, you have mental health, you have people in law firms, you know. It's very broad, so you can get in any direction you go, and that's what I've learned, because I started from the hospital before, and then I moved, and I went to child welfare, then I moved, and I went to physician.
So you hands-on on everything.
So that would be a strength, and you get to know a lot of community resources. And right now, we're both in Columbus together. I haven't been long, but to be honest, I can tap into a lot of resources that are out here that someone who's been here 20 years does not even know it exists. Right. So I think that's a big strength of a social worker, because you get to be creative. You get to find out how you can help this person where they are with what they have. That's the biggest strength. Because everyone, you have to meet the person where they are. You cannot just go in and try to, build a mansion out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the weakness will definitely be the challenges that you face, because you cannot really save the world. And going into the social work where you feel, oh my gosh, I'm going to save the world. You cannot save the world.
That's
so you come in with a lot of challenges, and sometimes you have to learn how to close the door outside, which I have to struggle with, and I have to learn the hard way, because we hear a lot of different stories from bad to worse. But I have a life too, and I have to learn how to shut the door and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to try to help this person, but I have a life too, and I have to help myself, because guess what, if I don't help myself, I can't help you. Right. So that was the biggest challenge.
Thank
and
you.
I'm still learning.
Thanks. And what kind of clients are the most difficult to work with? Have you had any difficult clients? Yeah. Yeah, because they come with their stories.
Exactly. Every client is different. You have to see them in a different way. And it's more of a holistic view.
Right.
You can't compare any two persons. Maria, to your story is similar to this person and this person. No, you are your own person.
Right.
But I think the most I have faced or experienced in my field is those who actually go through like crisis or having suicidal thoughts. And those suicidal thoughts started off from depression. Right. Because it really just feels you like you're not wanting anymore. You feel worthless and hopeless. Okay, what's my point of being alive? And most of the time they start cutting or hurting themselves. And when the thought of suicide kicks in, it's really tough to try to get that person to turn around and put that hopeful or hope in them.
Right. This suicidal thought, because we we see these days that a lot of Gambian girls, young girls, have been raped by these taxi drivers that will stop and put them in their cars and go. You know, that's very depressing. That can lead to suicidal thoughts. I just received this case this week that this girl was going to a wedding and stopped a taxi, and the taxi had two men in it, and she got in the taxi. She was taken to the bush and raped. She's currently in the hospital having depression, anxiety, crying, would not eat, you know, and she's very young, a 23-year-old girl. So it's very depressing. Those kind of things can lead to suicidal thoughts as well. But in the Gambian community, I mean, I see that a lot of people don't take that serious. Danga dega ñu ne hay ki wérut ki dafa dof lo rek waaye bàyyi ko bu dof lo fi be dof kampama lañ ko yóbbu. You know, there's a lot of things like that. They say a lot of things. Have you ever did you ever meet anyone from the African society coming to you for their diagnosis, depression or anxiety? Have you met anyone?
Well, it wasn't that. Well, this is a mother of a client, so it's not even a client coming to me. This is an African mother, and sometimes you go in, sometimes to work with the client, and come to find out, and this whole family becomes your client.
Right.
Because especially when you're dealing with kids, you have to bring the parents involved, and then come to find out, oh my God, this parent is depressed themselves.
Oh yeah.
So until you help yourself, you can't help your child. You know, I've had a session where a child was actually raped by a cousin and all of that, but it was during the session that was exposed to the parent.
Gosh. And the parent did not know.
They did not know until we had a family session and that came out. Now, how do you think that made me feel being the middle person?
Right.
Yeah, sometimes you find yourself in like a tough situation. But the whole rape issue, that's a whole different ball game, because that's taking away a big part or big piece from a woman. And that leads to hopelessness and worthless, because you feel, okay, you don't fit into the society anymore. You feel hopeless, like, okay, that kind of feeling.
Right.
So those ladies that are going through that, you know, most of the time, that's what's going through their head or their mind. So it caused them to shut down, and it feels like, okay, I don't even want to talk about it, because talking about it just brings more emotions out. Not knowing talking about it actually helps. And that's the big point that I want to bring out. And breaking the silence with these really starts with talking about it, like we're doing right now. We're having a conversation. We have Leon Destiny, and this is spreading awareness.
Right.
You know, like for you to even come out and say, hey, I'm going to do a live thing today. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to bring someone who's going through this to educate the community. This is a big step you're doing, Naya, too.
Thank you.
You know, I'm so just, talking about it gives me chills, because this is awesome. No, seriously, because I was just telling you about this. I didn't even hear your interview with Foxy, but after we spoke on the phone, I had to go back and look for it just so I can sit and listen to it.
Right. So it's
you
like
learn things every day.
Yeah, you learn things every day, and it's very important to talk about things. But in the Gambian society, a lot of kids have been going through a lot. In the African society, they're afraid to talk about it. Some people have their uncles rape them. Some people have their brothers. Some people cousins. Some people uncles, neighbors. Like it's just, and everyone is scared to talk about it, because if I talk about it, it's going to ruin my family. It's going to break my family. If I talk about it, my mom will kill me, or society will look at me this way. And for the depression, that's where depression comes in. And you see a child acting a kind of way, you like, why is this child acting this way? You have to find out why they're acting this way, because you don't know if they've been raped, you don't know if they're being abused, you don't know what's going on in their head, because you don't give them the chance to talk. So seeing a psychologist...
It's not just...
Go ahead.
Honestly, it's not even just in the Gambian community or our community. It's
everywhere.
That's just a broad thing. That's everywhere. That's a broad thing. For example, kids can get depressed from parents going through a separation or divorce and things. You don't necessarily have to be raped or anything or being abused. It could be a family issue. It could be um, uh, something that, like poverty can, something that you don't have, like you being home, excuse me, you being homeless. Yeah, or maybe just bullying from school, because back home, sometimes you don't think about kids being bullied at school. They are being bullied.
Bullied, that's right.
As you come back, you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Or, but, that can cause someone to isolate themselves, to shut down, feeling, okay, you can't even talk about it. So that's why I said coming out to having an outlet, it's a big impact. It's very helpful.
So, you guys listening, you heard Ajibin, I forgot the name again. Bintou. Bintou has said a lot over here. If you guys have any of these concerns, any of these things going on in your life, please see a psychologist or see a primary care doctor. Explain your issue, your situation, and they will probably refer you somewhere to get help. It's better than sitting down and keeping it to yourself. Depression leads to suicidal thoughts. You get anxious all the time when people talking to you. You act weird and stuff like that. You might see someone, like you said earlier, you see the person happy, laughing, and behind closed doors, that person is going through hell. That person is really going through a lot. So please, you guys, if you have any of these issues, see a psychologist, please. And I have another question here. She said, how do you deal with people with suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, that's a tough population. Like I said, you have to meet them where they are. You have to see, you have to go down, or I have to go down the root of it, which is sometimes hard, because most of the time, guess what? It's having to get them out of it, get it out from them.
Right.
And you have to dig in. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure, because I'm a total stranger. Imagine this is someone who doesn't know me, and now I have to build that trust. I have to make them trust me, to open up to me, to accept some of these things, so I can know what's going on in their head. I am not psychic. I cannot read your mind. You have to tell me.
Right.
And that's why I said talking is therapy. So until we talk, so we have to start with basic baby steps and basic things, little things, build that rapport, build that relationship first. I don't just come in and jump and say, oh my gosh, you want to kill yourself? Okay, let's talk about that. No. If you do that, it comes one thing to the next. I mean, we've had a lot of training and a lot of different experience, we've seen different cases, not that I've done, but that led to other things. And, once someone actually takes their life, that's it, that's done. You can't do anything about it.
Right.
Sometimes I get a call, someone out there on the bridge wanting to jump off the bridge. What do you do?
Oh, my gosh.
Not to laugh that it's funny, but it's not funny. But it's like, that's the hard population. So what I do, the question was, it's really trying to build that relationship with that person if it's someone you don't know. Now, if it's someone you know, you really have to pretty much get them in a stable state first. When I say stable state, really get them back to where you can have a chit-chat communication, like I call it.
To the right track.
So they can be back on their mind, like in that straight mind, so within your halakha as. Because when you're on that high level that you really want to kill yourself, it's bad. It's really hard to bring you back down to reality and get you back to belong in life and say, hey, I'm worth leaving. So you have to take one step at a time. If it's someone who actually tried to kill themselves and attempted, that's a different thing, because something must have stopped them to not do it. If they're thinking about it, you have to go back onto, okay, you were thinking about it, so what made you not to do it? I'm sure probably some people will say because of my kids, or because of my husband, or my wife, or my family. Something is motivating them to still be alive.
Right.
And if that's something keeping you alive, let's take that as an advantage and use that solely.
That's right.
So it's really just meeting that person where they are and going from there. And everyone's state is different, so you have to bring them back to a stable state where you can have a solid conversation that they can actually comprehend what you're saying and understand what you're saying.
Right.
So they can apply anything you want them to try, or different skills, or different what's the word? Just like self-care things for themselves, so they can stay alive. Because we want people to be alive
and be more stable.
Be more stable, exactly.
Yeah.
And finding the root of it, like would actually prevent something like that from happening again.
That's right. That's right. People do go through a lot. So, like the postpartum depression, the Gambian community in the Gambia, let's say, not here, but in the Gambia, a lot of women go through postpartum depression, but they don't know what that is. Like I told Fatu C earlier, here with the postpartum depression, you do get help. They do ask you, they give you questionnaires. Do you have postpartum depression? What is postpartum depression? They give you questionnaires to answer. What are you going through? Are you sleeping? Are you doing this? Are you doing it? But the Gambian community in Gambia, I don't think they have that type of thing. So for them, what message do you have for them as a social worker? What should they do to avoid postpartum depression and anxiety? I know you can't avoid it because it's something that it's already in society and people are dealing with it as a societal thing.
With postpartum depression, which really means the depression that you go through after pregnancy,
yes,
or like after the birth of a child, most of the mainly it begins during the pregnancy, and a lot of people don't realize it
until they have the baby.
And like I said, the body goes through a lot of changes when you're pregnant.
Sure.
All the hormonal changes, the physical changes, there's a lot of changes the body goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Some women can go through insecurity. They don't feel they're pretty anymore, or they just have a lot on their plate. They don't have the support. They may have other kids they have to care for. They feel fatigued, or they're worried about a lot of things. Maybe their health condition is not the best. Because some people have, for example, they have high blood pressure while they're pregnant. They have diabetes while they're pregnant. So they're worried about their health. Because that comes with complications. So while you're pregnant, you're already feeling all of this anxiety again, all of this restlessness, all this excessive worry, and it's kicking in. And guess what? When the birth of the child, after you have the baby, the hormones still are kicking in, and that is a chemical imbalance again. So sometimes that just spikes up.
Right.
Now you have an extra thing on your plate.
On your plate.
Because before you were pregnant, you had all these worries already.
And now you have a baby
to care for. Exactly. Now you have a baby that's added on top of everything else that was going on.
Right.
You have to care for this baby. You have to feed this baby. This is just some, like another, like a human just laying right there. You have to do everything for this baby. And we've seen, sometimes cases that leads to infant death just because of the lack of care. Not that the mom or the caregiver was negligent, but they were not in the right state of mind.
Right.
So this is when postpartum depression comes in. Now, in the Gambian community, over here in the U.S., a lot of screenings are done while you're even pregnant to see if those depression signs are there.
Right.
Again, you have to be honest. If you're not honest to accept it, they can't really help you. If you're honest, you start getting help while you're even pregnant. And now, if those signs don't come until after pregnancy,
then
help. You get the help at that side. Exactly. Now, back home, if hoping you are actually going to your clinics visit, these are things we should start implementing into that medical field. And I know, there's other things we have to worry about, but the mental state of a person is also very important, just like the physical state. A woman has to recover through a lot after giving birth. Just like I said, the physical, the emotional, the mental. There's a lot going on at the same time, and the support is not there. I don't think it is. If it is, I'm not aware of it.
Right. Say Tudor said this is a very important discussion. You guys very educational, she said. Thank you again, Ajibin. If you guys have questions for Ajibin, you can send them. And Ajibin, I think also Fatu Say wants to add something to what you've just said. I think she thinks that everything you said is important, and she has some things to add. I do know that people in the Gambia need help with this depression and anxiety, because you can see a woman that give birth and acting weird and acting anxious, and then she's living with these people in the house, and they always pointing fingers. Ki dafa dof, ki wérul, gis nga num de maniero, ki mom depuis bu wasine mom maniero dafa dof. They don't know what's going on with that person, and dafa dof bobu ends to the kampama. For them, everything is the kampama. Nit bu dofee moom danga ko jël nga yóbbu ko si campement waaye nit su dofee nit ku like someone acting weird and has some kind of symptoms, xam nga ñoom they don't know those kind of symptoms what they are and how can those people get help, because I don't think they have that kind of facility over there to help, like the psychology place, psychiatrists and stuff like that, and they don't get those medications as well to help them regain their consciousness after they deliver the baby. Because going through that hospital in Bintou, sharing beds and delivering on the same bed, that's depressing. Laying on the same bed, the babies are not in a healthy place. Laying in an unhealthy environment can depress the people as well. After delivering, you can't afford care. It can also please let her talk a little louder. I think they want you to talk louder when you're talking. She will definitely talk louder. I'm sorry. Yeah, like I said, these women go through a lot. I see a lot of women when I went to Gambia that act weird, and they're like, it's not like that. People go through depression. People go through stuff. They can't afford food. People cannot afford medical care. People go through a lot of stuff. Some women
and just to add on that, it's sometimes the responsibility that triggers some of these.
Right.
For example, I heard you telling a story again on Kujas Amdom. 2 days later or a day later, they have to go back to their normal daily activities.
Yeah.
They have to do laundry, they have to cook. If they have other kids, they have to take care of them.
Right.
So it's like you still have to do all these other expectations from you.
Mm-hmm.
I can give myself as an example. I have, like I said, I'm a mother of two. After my second child, my responsibilities were different. All my expectations were different. I have a toddler I have to care for, and I have another baby I have to take care of. So all of that pressure is under you. And if the lack of support, if you don't have that in the bug, so I'm saying the bug, how can you, if it rest, to regain your, to recover? And that recovery phase is a very big impact. That recovery phase is very important. Even, over here, doctors tell you, you have to take off for 6 weeks. You know how they have the normal 6 weeks recovery piece?
Right.
Now, do you think 6 weeks you're going to stay and not do anything?
Oh, no.
Let's be honest.
No.
You can't do that, right? And so, but that's the 6 weeks. The main thing they're thinking about is the physical piece. Now, you do need to recover physically, but you do need to recover emotionally, too.
Right. But for us over here, I think the only thing that helps, we have a doula. Not many people know about the doula that can help you in the hospital. Some of them can come in homes and assist you. Even if you have a C-section, they can assist you for some days and stuff like that. But Gambia, you don't have that. You have this lady doing laundry. After 2 days, you're being and that blood can thing up your head, and that's not good. You just delivered a baby. You're depressed, number one. You have a new baby.
You might be lucky and have family members who are available to help.
Yes.
But again, most of the time that help is very limited.
Yes.
Like, for example, I remember when I had a baby, I did cook for like over 2 weeks because I had people that were cooking and just bringing it over and say, hey, I'll cook this, and I'll have like so many different meals in my fridge.
Right.
That's a privilege for me. But back home, yes, you may have someone saying, okay, the Nala kills a zombie, but that's for you to do something else. Not that the Nala kills a zombie for you to rest. Many of us back home don't have that.
Yes.
If you're lucky to have a house help, yes, they may be able to do those things for you.
Nice.
Not everyone is fortunate enough to have that. Most of the time, you have a baby, you pop it right back. Like you discharge within hours to go back home, first of all. And that's just one downside too. That 2 hour window, I get it. Other people need to be seen too, but just for that few hours with no monitoring going on, and you sent home, and the same day you probably been washing dishes or doing something else within a few hours of giving birth. That could just even cause you to have a crisis right there without even knowing.
Mm-hmm. And some men, some Gambian men, they don't like to assist their women during this time period when they had their babies and they're going through this, or help me hold this, or help me manage jogal nga toga, manage jogal nga definitely, and you know they don't know what the women are going through.
Lack of knowledge.
Knowledge,
I
yes.
think it's the lack of knowledge and lack of education sometimes when it comes to that area. And you know, sometimes I not to say I don't want to blame our men, but at the same time, it's also good to be open-minded because as a man, if you are with your woman and you're not blindfolded, you see it what they're going through. You can move especially when you're in your late stages. You know, to say that's just being heartless.
That's heartless. So go to Gambia and you're not
coming from anyone.
Jabari.
You know, Gambian, anyone, even women, just seeing other women pregnant and thinking at those last stages, there is no room for tapale. You know, some people may carry it all the way. You know, some people tell me, "Yo, so period of Yes, that's why, because I have energy and I'm on my feet all day. That doesn't mean I don't get tired.
Yeah, you get tired, of course.
But because I have things to do. Yes, I have things to do. But I think fellow men just have to be more open-minded and be very more observant. You know, or you know, if you have a man in the house or something, be more observant of your woman. Be open-minded and observe these little things. You've known this person before they were pregnant. Now, when they're pregnant, you see the difference. Any little help helps. You know, we'll have that or say the not a hospital is that, because I know our fellow women, our Gambian men sometimes, or some of them, overthink about stuff. That mentality, that stigma, or that stigma on just generalizes chicken about it, that stigma about it, that thing. You know, we've seen how things are here. We have our husbands helping out in the house, which is okay. But it's just that open-mindedness and just being observant.